Hello friends, today we are going to discuss the topic that is function in C. Now function is a modular approach and it reduces the program length, and there are various advantages of the function using the C program. So let us discuss the various topics in the function. What is function, type of function, how the function can be created, how we can use the function by calling the function call, and what is recursion. That all the topic we are going to discuss. Also function can take the different types of the argument, and that are the 2 points that we are going to discuss: pass by value, pass by reference. That is the last point that we are going to discuss within the topic function. Okay, so let us start with the first point. Here, this is a simple C program and everybody is aware with this program. This program has a first line. This is the include stdio.h. Second line, that is the main, and within the curly braces of the main we are writing printf and hello world, and we complete the curly braces. Okay, all of us are aware with this program. When we try to run this program, we get the output hello world on the screen. Let us discuss what is the main, what is printf, and what is the use of include in this program. Here we are writing the main. Here it is mentioned in the red color. This is a function, and here it is a user defined function. Printf is also a one function, and we are using this function. Here we are defining one function, that is a main function. It contains some statement that are written by the user, means we are calling this function as a user defined function. And here we are using the functionality of the printing by calling the function printf. So here this is called the function calling, means we are utilizing the available function. The printf function is available in some library routines, and this is available at here. This is called stdio.h. So to use this printf, we have to include that library. Okay, so include stdio.h has a code for the printf, and we are calling the printf function to use the utility of the printf code. stdio stands for standard input and output. Here the C program contains the various header files. The point number 2, that is the type of function. Here in the previous slide we discussed the user defined and the system defined. Okay, so system defined means the C language or your C compiler contains the various routines, various functions. We have to directly use that function, that are called the system defined function. And to use that type of the functionality, we have to include that library. Okay, so we are mentioning the include stdio.h or include string.h. So header files are available with the compiler, and we have to include that library routine, and then we can call the function. For example, here the strcmp or strcat, to compare the string or to concat the string, we have a utility, but that utility is available with a header file that is called string.h. means if I want to use the functionality string compare or string concatenation, I have to include the string.h file. So my C program contains a line that is #include string.h. Clear with the system defined function? Okay, now next point, that is the user defined function. Now user defined function means the statements available within the body of the function is written by the user. Okay, here the 2 examples are there. First one, that is the main, and second one, that is the do sum. Main is the user defined function, whatever the statements available with the main that are mentioned by the user, but the main keyword is reserved by the C compiler. Means when we try to run the C program, our operating system is trying to call the main method, and it is the main method of C program. So main is required to run every C program. It is a reserve function, but the statements available with the main method is written by the user. So we call this function as a user defined function. And second function, that is the do sum. Here the name of the function is also decided by the user, and the statements available within the function is also written by the user. So it is called the user defined function. In short, in this function there are 2 types in the C language there are two types of the function. First is the system defined and second one is the user defined. Clear? Now let us discuss what is the use of function in C language. So as the point number 1, during the programming some functionality should be repeated many times. For example, I want to draw a line. To draw a line I have to use the for loop, and within the for loop I have to write the printf statement. Now to print a line every time in the program I have to write 4 lines of code. Instead of that, if I write one routine, one function, the name of that function is drawLine, and I write the code within that. Now wherever I require the functionality to draw the line, every time I have to call only the name of the function. Automatically the statements available within the function code are executed and I am able to get the functionality of the drawLine method. Clear? So wherever there is a repetition of same type of the functionality, no need to write the code every time, but just write once and call many times. This is the main advantage of the function in C. So here the solution is given in the below, that is, write a code to draw a line once as a function and use it by calling that function whenever it requires. Now in the C program, this approach is called the modular programming approach. In short, the C programming is called a modular programming language. Means whatever the software routines available within the C language, all the statements of the softwares are not written within the main as a single function, but it is written with different types of the modules. Means the code of the softwares are divided into the different modules as a function, and then that module, that functionality are called within the main. So this approach is called the modular programming approach. Now what are the advantages of the modular programming approach? Let us discuss the point number 1, that is, repeated line of the code can be reduced by writing it as a function. Second, maintenance and enhancement in the software can be easy. Let us discuss this point. For example, I have one software which contains the various types of the functionality. Now I want to provide some extra features with one functionality only. Then in the modular approach I have to change the code of only that module. Clear? So maintenance or the enhancement in the software is very easy by modifying only some portion of the function only, and wherever in the software it is called, on every side there is an effect of the modification. So maintenance and enhancement in the software can be easily done by using the modular programming approach by creating the function. Third point, that is, the fault or bug can be easily diagnosed. Means if my software is tested, okay, and in the software some portion contains the bug, okay, now if that portion is available as a part of function, if I change the code within the function and clear the bug, it affect with complete software. Means wherever the same function will be called, every time that bug will be cleared. Okay. Next point, that is, once library is written, it can be reused for next software, and so it can reduce the software cost. Now generally the software cost can be computed by the line of codes. Means the software developer, what number of lines are written by the software developers, that contains the cost. Okay, now here if some functions are readily available, then the cost to write that code can be reduced. Okay, so in short, we can reduce the software cost as well as we can reduce the development time for the software also. Okay, so here we can easily use the functionality of the modular programming. These are the advantage of software. Next point, here this is an example. Okay, here in this example, the drawLine is one method which contains some lines of code. As previously we discussed, if I want to draw a line every time in the software, okay, so no need to repeat this for statement every time, but write this function once and call this drawLine method wherever we require. So every time the routines available, the statement available within the drawLine are executed and we are able to draw the line, because here we are using the for loop, and within the for loop the lines will be drawn. Clear? So this is the simple example of the drawLine function. Now here how to use that function. So here I write the code, and within the main, if I want to draw the line, just write down the draw line and put the semicolon. Now again, if I want to draw the line after some statements, again call the same function. Okay, means you can call a same function one or more than one time. Clear? Okay, so this is regarding to the function uses or the modular approach advantage. Now the structure of modular programming. The function is written separately than main. User can call function from main. User can call one function from another function, and last one, that is function can be called once or more than once. Here the function is written separately than the main, means the code, the routine available for the function can be written separately than the main function. Okay, second point, that is user can call function from main. As the previous example, the drawLine function will be called from the main, and the routine for the drawLine is written separately. The third point, that is user can call one function from another function. Okay, so if I have a 3 or 4 functions and I want to use one function from the another function, I can call. Okay, the next point, that is function can be called one or more than one, means one time, means I can use the ready-made utility, ready-made functionality for one time or more than one time. As the previous example show that if I want to draw the line 2 times before the statement and after the statement, I call the draw line more than once. Clear? So this is regarding to the modular programming approach. Now here the execution strategy of the function. What is the strategy when the function will be called? Now during the main program, if I try to run the C program, the C program is executed by statements. Okay, and control will be transferred from one statement to another to third one and up to last. But when the function will be called, what happens? The control is transferred from main to the routine of the function where it is written, and then the statements available within the functions are executed, and then again the control will be retransferred to the main from where the function will be called. Okay, so here the statement is available. When function will be called, it jump from that point to the function where it is called. All the statements available within the functions are executed, and after executing function statements, control return again to that previous point with some return value or no return value. Okay, we discuss in the detail in the later what is return value and what is no return value. Now next point, that is regarding to the types of function. Previously we discussed there are two types, system defined and user defined. First we discussed the system defined functions. Okay, so in the system defined functions, for example, when the user write include stdio.h statement in the program, what happens? He is able to use the standard input output library like the printf, scanf, etc. Okay, so here the stdio stands for the standard input and output. So here the system defined functions are available in the stdio.h header file, and if I want to use that system defined functionality, it is mandatory for me to include the stdio.h library file in my program. Now there is a question in your mind where the stdio.h is available. So in the C programming, when we install the compiler for the C, for example, we are using the Turbo C. Okay, so in the Turbo C, there is a one folder available that called the include, and we are setting the path in the directories of the Turbo C editor here, which contains the include directory. That include directory contains the list of various header files. Okay, and among them one is the stdio.h, means the standard input output library. There are list of header files available, and that we discuss in the next slides. What are the list of header files and what is the use of that? Here, this is the example of the stdio, means the printf and the scanf functions are available with the stdio.h. Here it contains the basic function code used for input output. stdio, IO stands for input and output, and std stands for standard, means standard input output functionality is available with the stdio.h header file, and we can use that functionality. Okay, so the source code for printf and scanf routine are available with the header file. So are you clear with the system defined function? Okay, so we discuss the next slide. Now system defined header files. Compiler has one folder that I already discussed with you, that name is the include, which contains all the header library files, and when we write include stdio.h, the compiler try to search that header file in the folder include. Okay, so for that we have to set the path in the editor, and each header file contains the various types of the functionality. System defined header file. Like to work with string handling, we require the include string.h header file. Code is already available and user has to call only the function from that header file. Means no need to write the function code. The function code is already available as a library routine as a header file, and we have to use that code only. Clear? Now what are the different types of header file available with the C library? So in the Ansi, if we use the NCC compiler, the list of NCC library functions are available here. The first we discussed, that is ctype.h. To use this header file in the C program, we have to write include ctype.h. Okay, now here what type of the functionality ctype.h contains? So it contains the character testing and the conversation functionality. For example, if I have one character value and I want to check that character is in the uppercase or lowercase. Okay, so for that I am using the functionality and I am calling the function that is toUpper, and I am passing the parameter here the C. C means the variable name, which is a type of character. Okay, so suppose for example C contains the value capital A. Okay, and if I pass C at here, it return the true, it return the 0 value, means toUpper return either 0 or 1 if it contains the upper character, or if it does not contain the upper character, it return the non-zero values. Same the second function, that is digit. Okay, is digit also take one parameter and it check the pass value is a character or is it a digit. If I pass a number in the C, then it return the 0, otherwise it return the non-zero. Okay, so this is the functionality of the ctype.h header file. The next one, that is the math.h, that is the mathematical header functions. It contains the various mathematical functionality. For example, I require the cost value. Okay, so if the value of I equal to 60 and I require cost 60, so I have to call the function cost and I have to pass the value 50, or I have to pass the variable I. To use this functionality, it is mandatory for me to include the header file, that is a math.h. Okay, and another example, that is to find the exponential value. Okay, so for that we have to call the exp. So various types of list of functions are available with the math.h. Next, that is stdio.h. We already discussed that it is a standard input-output library. For example, it contains the printf, scanf, etc. utilities available with the standard input-output library files. Next one, that is stdlib, standard library. This is a standard library. Previous one is the standard input-output library. Okay, now here this standard library contains the utility function like memory allocation, random number generator, etc. Okay, for example, I want to generate the random number. So rand is the function which return a integer value, but it returns a random integer value. Okay, so to generate the random number, I have to call the rand function. If I want to allocate some memory, then malloc, calloc and the free functions are available, which is in the standard library. So routine. The code is available in the stdlib.h, and we have to utilize that code by calling that specific function. Next one, that is the string.h. Now string.h contains the string handling and manipulation functionality. For example, I want to concat the two string, or I want to compare the two string, then I can call string strcat or strcmp functions. For example, here strcmp is available. This function will take the two parameter s1 and s2. Here s1 is the first string, s2 is the another string, and if I want to compare the two string, means I want to match the two different string, I can call strcmp function, and with the strcmp, if I pass two value, it return either 0 or non-zero. If it returns 0, means both the strings are same. If it return non-zero, both the strings are not same. But here the case is not check. Means if ABC with the capital as available in S1 and small abc is available with S2, also it returns the 0. Means both the strings are equal. Here the case is not checked. To check the case with the same value, strcmp I function is available with the same header file. Okay, so this is the utility of string.h. Next one, that is the time.h. Now time.h is the library available to work with the time manipulation functionality. If I want to create a software and within the software I require the time functionality, so for that you have to include the routine that is time.h. Okay, here the example that is time, which contains a parameter p. Here if I use this function, it returns the number of seconds elapsed beyond a designated base time. Okay, so these are the various functionalities available with the NCC library function. So these are the header files. Now we have a question: is it possible to create this same type of the functionality for my own library? Yes, that is possible. For example, there is a software company which create different types of the software using the C language. Okay, now here when they are developing a various software, some common functionalities are available with each and every software. So first time they are developing the C code and save this C code as a library file, and whenever it require in the next function they can use it. Okay, so this is called the user defined libraries. For that we have to create the list of functions which are called user defined functions and save into a single file. Okay, so how to work with the user defined function, let us discuss. So here, to work with function, we must aware with number 1, that is function declaration, number 2, that is function definition, and number 3, function calling. In the system defined function, what we are doing? We are generally calling the function. For example, to concat the two value or to compare the two string, I call strcmp and pass the two different string. But it is called the function calling as mentioned in the number 3. But the number 1 and number 2, that is called function declaration and function definition. When we use the header file, it contains the source code. Okay, means we do not have to write the code for the functionality, but in the user defined function we have to follow the 3 steps. Means we have to declare the function, we have to write the code for function, and then we can call that function utility. Clear? So here the first example, that is void add, and it passed the two parameters, that is int, int. So this is called the function declaration. In the function declaration, just the return type, the name of the function and type of the parameters are written, and after that we are putting the semicolon. This is also called the function prototype. Means we are only providing the function information, what type of the value it return, what type of the parameter it take, and what is the name of the function. But here we are not mentioning the statements within the function. Okay, so this is called function prototyping or function declaration. Clear? The next point, that is function definition. This is the very important point. Function definition means we have to write the type, return type, then name of the function, and within the braces here I am mentioning integer a comma integer b. Okay, so means here the function will take the two parameters and the parameter variable name are also mentioned, that is a and b, and this function does not return, so I am mentioning the return type as a void. Now this function will contain some addition functionality which is the body statements of the function. So here it is mentioned that within the curly braces that / body of the function, means the statements, the routine statements require to add the two values should be written at here. So this is called the function definition. And third one, that is now my function is ready and I can use this functionality by calling this function. So here I write add, then 10, 20. So 10 is equal to a and 20 is equal to b. So 10 and 20 value are passed with the add function, and it perform the addition functionality and print the addition of the 10 and 20 and generate the output. So these are the 3 phases: function declaration, function definition, and function calling. Clear? Now let us discuss in detail what is function declaration, what is function definition, and how we can call the function. First point, that is function declaration. So before write and code in the main method, okay, function should be declared with following format. Means if I write a simple C program, that is has include stdio.h, has include string.h, has include math.h, and the next step, that is I want to start write the main method. But before writing the main method, if I am mentioning the list of function prototyping, then this is called the declaration section. Here I can declare the list of function which I want to define within my softwares. Okay, so where to write? Clear? Are you clear? Where to write the prototype for the function? Now how to write? So the syntax should be return type, then function name, and within the braces parameter list, and then put the semicolon. For example, here add is the name of function which does not return value, so I write the void keyword, and it take the two parameters, that is int comma int. Please remember, when you write the prototype of the function, put the semicolon at the end, and it is not mandatory or no need to write the variable name in the parameter. Only the data type should be required. So here I am writing only int comma int. I am not writing int a comma int b. Only the data type for the parameter should be required, and this is must. Put the semicolon at the end of the function declaration is mandatory. So please remember, again I discuss with you, that is when you mention the function declaration, you have to declare the function within the declaration section. Means before writing the main and after writing the include statement, you can write the function declaration. Here I write void add integer means my function is not returning a value, name of the function is add, and it takes the two integer type of the parameter, and I put the semicolon at last. Now what is the use of function declaration? When I try to run my program and within the main, if I try to call the add function, the add functionality is written, the definition for the add will be written after main. Okay, so if I declare before the main add function, then compiler is able to know that add function is available with my software, and the routine for the add should be written during the software code. So it search for the code for the add function, means to inform the compiler the prototype for the function should be required. Clear about the function declaration? Now the point, the rules to remember regarding the function. So when we write the name for the function, it cannot be a keyword. Means I cannot create a function with the name that is int, or name with the char, or name with the main. Main is also a reserve word. Okay, so we cannot use the function name as a reserve keyword. Second point, function return type must be mentioned. Means here I mentioned the void keyword. If my function is not returning any value, then it is mandatory for me to write void keyword. If my function is returning any integer value or any float value, instead of void I have to write the data type, either int or char or float or double or etc. Okay, next point, that is multiple parameters can be mentioned using the comma. If my function take one or two or more than two parameters, like a previous example, it take two parameters, so I write int comma int. Same here, you want to pass more than two parameters, then you can also pass by providing the comma. So this you have to remember, the function name cannot be a keyword, the return type must be mentioned, and you can pass more than one parameter by providing the comma. Clear? Next point, that is only variable type can be mentioned as a parameter. Here I am not writing int space a or int space b, only you have to provide the data type within the function prototype. And next point, type of parameter must be matched during function definition with the same sequence. Means whenever I write the routine for add function, at that time the parameter must be matched. Means here in the function prototyping, if I write void add within the braces integer comma integer, and when I try to write the body for add, at that time if I write void add and only pass integer a, then it gives the error, because here in the prototype the function you told to the compiler that my add function will take the two parameter, and within the body, within the definition, you are passing only a single parameter. Okay, so it generates the error. So type of a parameter must match during the function definition with the same sequence. Means data type should also be match. Means if I try to write the body for add and I write void add float a comma float b, then it also generates the error. In the declaration section you mentioned that my add function will take integer value, and in the definition you are providing a float value, so it also generates the error. So the sequence should be same as well as the data type of the parameter must match. Now when we try to declare a function, we can declare the function at two sides. As I discussed with you, generally we are declaring the function before the main and after include. Here in the code, if you see that hash include stdio.h is there and void main is there. Between the main and the stdio, I am mentioning void add integer mul. So add and multiplication functionality prototype are defined at here. These are the two functions. First function will take 2 parameter and it doesn't return a value. The second function will take the 2 parameter of integer type and it return the integer value. And then I write the body for the main. So this I call this function, I call add and mul function as a global function declaration, and I can call this function anywhere within my software. Means within the main I can call, within the another function I can call the add or multiplication function. So this declaration is called the global declaration. Second point, that is called the local declaration. Let us discuss the local declaration. In the local declaration, what happens when the function is declared within a function? For example, I am writing one function do print, and within the do print, if I mention one another function, that is average or the total function. Okay, so average and total function is the sub function of my do print function. Clear? So when the function is written within a function, then the scope of inner function is limited up to the outer function, and that is called the local function declaration. So within the add, if the function body, if user declare another function like avg, then it is called the local declaration. So there are two options available with us, global function declaration and the local function declaration, and generally I prefer you to define a function as a global function declaration, so you can use that function anywhere. Clear? The function declaration is local and the global. Next point, function definition. Now we are aware with the function prototyping. Function prototyping does not take any body of the function, but when we declare the function, then after main, it is mandatory for me to write the body for the function, the statement, the functionality of the function in the form of a C statements. So declared function is implemented with body statement here. For example, here the syntax, how to write the function definition, return type, then function name, and then the parameter list. Here the local variable declaration, statements, and last one, that is the return type, should be mentioned. So this is the syntax: return type, then function name, then parameter list, and the body contains the variable declaration, the statements, functionality for the function, and then at last we have to write the statement that is return, and what type of the value my function is returning, that I have to mention. Clear? Let us take one example of function definition. So here in the prototyping we are writing void add, and within the add we are mentioning integer comma integer. So this is the function prototyping, and here we are writing the body for function. So void add, and then I pass a 2 parameter, that is n1 and n2. So the statement should be void, the name of the function, that is add, and within the braces I write integer n1 comma integer n2. So n1 and n2 are the 2 parameters of add function, which is the type of integer, and void means my function is not returning any value. Now here within the curly braces, whatever the statement I mention, all the statements are the body of my add function. So here first I declare one variable, that is sum, and the data type for the sum is int, so integer sum. Then I write the statement sum equal to n1 plus n2. So I am doing the summation for n1 and n2, and then I try to print the value of sum. So when the user is trying to use the functionality add, it has to pass two different values as a n1 and n2, and when the body of the add function will be executed, it do the summation of n1 and n2 and print the summation. Clear with the functionality? Now here please remember n1, n2 and the sum. The scope of variable n1, n2 and sum is limited up to the add function. After the add, you cannot access the variable value sum, or you cannot access the variable value n1 and n2. These are the local variable for add function. Clear? Second example, here I write mul function. In the previous example, there is a void keyword. Here the keyword int is there. Now mul function will take the two parameter n1 and n2, and within the body of mul function, multiplication function, I declare one variable ans, and then I write n1 star n2, ans equal to n1 star n2, and it here there is a new, this is called return. So I mentioned return, and within the braces of return I write ans. An is the variable, that is the answer. So whatever the answer, that will be returned by the function. So when we call this mul function, we have to catch the answer in the form of an integer variable. So here we have to mention the int, so we can return the integer values. Here if the answer is declared as a float, then the return type should be float. Clear? So this is the example in which my function returns something. In the previous example, my function doesn't return any values. So we are not writing the return keyword. Here it is mandatory for me to write the return keyword because my function is returning something, and the data type should be matched. Here if I write ans as an integer variable, then it must be a int. Clear? The third point, that is called the function calling. Now the function prototype is complete, function definition should be written by us, and now how to use this functionality. So for example, in my C program, I write the prototype for the function, then I complete the main, and then after I write the body for each and every function. For example, add and multiplication function body I mentioned. Now how to use this add and multiplication functionality. So within the main function, I can call this function add and the multiplication, or from the add function I can also call the multiplication function, or from the multiplication function I can also call the add function. Okay, so from one function to another function we can call the function, or from main we can call add or multiplication function. Okay, so here the function will be called by writing the name of function with the simple parenthesis ending by semicolon. Clear? So previously we create one function, that is the add function. So the name of the function, that is add, and within the braces it will take the two parameter of integer type. So I pass 20 and 30 two integer value. So when I call this function, what happens? N1 equal to 20, N2 equal to 30, then sum equal to N1 plus N2, so sum equal to 50, and then printf statement is there, so it will print the value of sum. So when the add function will be called, the output is 50. Clear? Okay, so this is called the function calling. So it is mandatory to pass all the argument with the same data type. This is a very important statement. Here if I pass 20.50, 30, what happens? It generates the error, because the add function, the prototype of the add function has a two parameter which must be a integer type. So when we call this add function, it is mandatory for us to pass a two integer value only. Except integer, we cannot pass any character or float or long or double value. Okay, so this is keep in mind that when you call the function, it is mandatory for you to pass all the parameter, and the parameter must be of the same type. Means if I call the add function with only a single parameter, it also generates the error. If I pass two parameter but the data type doesn't match, it also generates the error. Okay, so keep in mind regarding the function calling. Here for the previous example, add 1020 is calling the syntax here and no return value, and from the main, when the previous function is called, value must be catched by the variable of same data type. In the previous slides we write two functions. One is the add, which does not return the value, and second one, that is mul, which return the value. Now when we call the multiplication function, what we have to keep in mind, that is written here in the red color. So here I call the mul function, which take the two parameter. First is the integer value 5, second is the integer value 2. Now all the statements available within the MUL function are executed. The statement written in the multiplication functions are integer answer equal to n1 into n2, so answer equal to 5 into 2, so answer equal to 10, and then print a percentage d answer, so it will print 10 value. Now then after, sorry, the printf statement is not there, but it will return, the return statement is there which return the answer. Okay, so when this function will be called, it return a integer value 10. So we have to catch this value using by declaring one variable. So here the statement should be look like int space a equal to mul within the braces 5 comma 2. So when all the statements of the multiplication function will be executed, at last it return the integer value 10, and that will be stored into a integer variable a. Okay, now keep in mind here the important point, your function will return integer data type value, then it is mandatory for you to catch that value in the same data type. Means if I declare here character a equal to mul of 5 comma 2, it generates the error because my multiplication function will return integer value. Okay, so it is mandatory for me to store that value into the integer data type. So the statement should be integer a equal to 5 comma 2. Clear? So the points to remember: number 1, if it return a value, if the function return a value, then the value must be caught with same data type, integer a equal to mul within the braces 5 comma 2. Point number 2, if function take parameter, then all parameter with same data type must be passed, sequence should be matched with the data type. Number 3, all parameters must be separated by the comma. Clear? For it. Again, let us discuss point number 1. If it return a value, then the value must be caught with the same data type. Number 2, if function take parameter, then all parameter with same data type must be passed. And point number 3, all parameters must be separated by comma. So clear how to call the define function. So function declaration, function definition, and function calling. These are the 3 steps for the user defined function. Next point, that is function category. What are the categories of the function? Let us discuss the function category. Here there are 4 types of the function category. Number 1, function without parameter and no return. The example is available with the red line, that is void drawLine. drawLine is the function which draw the horizontal line. So here we are not passing any value, so the parenthesis is blank, and void keyword is there, means it doesn't return any value. So function does not return any value and function does not take any parameter. Second type, that is function with parameter and no return value, means add is the example which take the 2 parameter but it does not return any value. The third point, that is function without parameter and return value. Here is the example random function which generate the random number and return that random number. So here no need to pass any value, it only return the random value. So integer is the return type and it does not take any parameter, so the parenthesis is empty. And fourth one, that is function with parameter and return value. So multiplication is the good example which take the 2 integer value as a 2 parameter and which return the multiplication of n1 and n2 as a return value which is an integer. So here I mentioned the int and here I mentioned the 2 different parameters. In short, there are 4 categories of the function: function without parameter, without return value; function without parameter but return value; function with parameter but no return value; and function with parameter and with return value. So these are the 4 categories of the function. Let us discuss in detail the number 1, that is no argument and no return. So here the function does not take any parameters and also not return any value. Here the function does not receive any data from where it is called and also does not provide any data to where it is called. This is the example, the function, this is the syntax, function name, and within the body we can mention the statement of the function. The simple example, that is a display line. The statements are available, and here when we call this function, it only prints the line, so no need to pass any parameter, or no return type should be required. So from main, when we call, directly write the display line and put the semicolon. No need to cache the value, no need to pass the value. When the function will be called, it transfer control to its body and execute it, and again control transfer back to main function from where it is called. Second type, argument with no return. So here function will receive the data from where it is called and a parameter, but does not provide any data in the form of return value. Return keyword is not mandatory. Syntax should be void, name of the function, then parameter. Clear? Let us take example, void add. Here it will take the two parameter and it does not return value, directly print the summation. Third, from main function, when we call, we have to pass two parameter, but it is not mandatory to cache the value, means it does not return value, so only call the function and pass the two values. Here the function does not return value, so no need to write the return keyword. Next, no argument and return value, means when the function will be called, it does not take any data from where it is called, but it provides the value from where it is called. The syntax should be return type of the function, return type, function name, and then the function body. The example, for example, it is a random function, so here it generates the random number and return the random number, so the data type of the random should be required, but no need to pass any value. When we call this function, we have to cache the value, which is the integer value, so the statement should be integer r equal to random. Clear? And last one, that is argument and return value. Here function will take the data from where it is called and also provide the data in the form of return value to where it is called. The syntax should be return type, function name, and the parameter, and the function body statement should be there. Let us take an example, that is integer multiplication and integer n1 n2. So answer will be written as an integer type. So when we call this function, integer a equal to mul of 5, 2. So multiplication function will be called and it return the integer value. So this is the type category of the function. Now in general, whatever we discuss, let us summarize all these things. First we discuss, that is the what type of the function, user defined function as well as the system defined function. Generally we are using the system defined functions like the printf, scanf, etc., and user defined function means the main function or whatever the function we are creating during the softwares. And next point, that is the category of the function. Category of the function means 4 categories: function with no parameter, no return; function with no parameter, no return; function with parameter, no return; and with return. So 4 different categories of the function that we discuss during this lesson. Okay, in the next lecture we discuss in detail regarding to the functions. Thank you.